Deciding to watch Mutant can be a little confusing because the Roger Corman joint Forbidden World is also known as Mutant in certain circles, and this film's box art is vague enough to make you wonder if it's the film you've already seen. Rest assured though, it's its own thing, and even has a Richard Band score to boot. Wings Hauser and his brother are on a road trip through Georgia when Wings' hijinks almost gets them killed. They run afoul with local ne'er-do-wells who seem to be breaking all kinds of laws, but as we all know now, nothing matters. Aside from the redneck problem though, there's something else going on in this town, which I'll skip way ahead and mention that there's an evil corporation dumping chemicals into the town's water supply, which is having an adverse effect on the population. You could say it's turning the locals into zombies of sorts, but they're kind of dinner theater zombies. Most of them are very much the actual locals from the town where this movie is being filmed. And they act like it. Wings' brother actually gets offed way sooner than I expected, which leaves Wings to pair up with a local school teacher to uncover just what the heck is going on. Don't expect great zombie action from Mutant. There's no real rule set involved with these particular things, with the exception of them not liking bright lights for whatever reason. Also, some of them have the power of having hot hands, I think? There's lots of ads of Dramamine along the way for some reason, and it'll probably drive you crazy trying to figure out who this kid is. He's the boy from Close Encounters of the Third Kind. There, I saved you from going mad. There's some good small-town mayhem in this, and Wings Hauser being a weirdo is almost always fun, but in the end, Mutant is just okay. Watchable, but just okay. A few years later, a movie called Nightmare at Noon was made. It stars Wings Hauser and Bo Hopkins and is about a nefarious plot to poison a small town's water supply, which turns the locals into monsters. No, I didn't mess up the description, and it's not a remake of Mutant either, at least not officially. But it is the same movie as Mutant, just with some very important changes. These credits seem like they were produced years after the fact. One of the immediate improvements over Mutant is everything involving the evil plot. It's being run by albino Brian James, who manages to be menacing while ultimately only saying one word in the entire film, and that's to a horse. They've got sweet vehicles too, but I don't think that's a real government agency. Just a hunch.
Howdy, fellas. Them's pretty lots. What you doing, making a movie?
We've moved from Georgia to Utah, and it's an immediate scenery upgrade. This time Wings Hauser plays a fancy lawyer who rolls through town with his fancy wife in a fancy RV. Along the way, they've picked up hitchhiker Bo Hopkins. He's not the law in this one because another upgrade has taken place, and that's casting George Kennedy as the town sheriff.
Did anybody ever hear that this is supposed to be a quiet town?
At first you might feel compelled to suggest to just be somewhere else at noon to survive all this, but in all honesty the title is meaningless as the bad things happen at all times, day or night. This time, instead of the poison water turning everyone into county fair zombies, the townspeople here become insane stuntmen. Holy shit, this rules! The main cast isn't immune to the poison water, as Kennedy had some earlier that day, and he assumes the role you're familiar with of the dude who got bitten by a zombie and has to hide it from everyone. It also gets Wings' wife, who they have to then lock away in the town jail. Somehow by the end they find a cure and fix her, but it's a whole plot development they skip right over until you see that she's totally fine 30 seconds before the end credits roll. There's a rather informative documentary on the Blu-ray that appears to be an extra from the 2002 DVD release, produced by the director himself, much like how he interviewed himself on the Zero Boys Blu-ray. It uses extensive interview footage from the set and is a terrific watch. Nico mentions that he did not like Wings Hauser at all and was warned against hiring him, as Wings had a pretty bad drug problem at the time. However, he says that years later, Wings apologized for his on-set behavior. So, two things about that. One, if you asked me to pick which movie featured Wings Hauser out of his mind on the cocaine, I would have said Mutant, because he seems positively subdued in Nightmare at Noon. Also, the clash between star and director might explain the oddness of the third act, where Wings is essentially written out of the film, leaving everything on Bo Hopkins' shoulders. Which is fine, don't get me wrong, it's just weird that your top-billed star literally has nothing to do with the film's finale. It should be mentioned that there are a couple of times during the film where the transfer becomes full frame only before quickly returning to widescreen. It's not egregious, but it does make you wonder what went wrong with the transfer. And finally, it's worth mentioning that there is extensive coverage of that motorcycle stunt, which was performed by the film's stunt coordinator, and also, it went horribly, horribly wrong. While they got the shot and what you see in the film is the only attempt, he overshot the safety padding at the end of the jump and completely shattered his leg upon landing. It's not surprising that between the two, Nightmare at Noon is the vastly superior experience. Mutant is fine and all, and again, Nightmare at Noon isn't technically considered a remake, but it's definitely the better of the two similar tales. It's got stunts and jokes to go with the poison water zombie story. Both are worth checking out, but Nightmare at Noon is the winner.